Hey there, friends. I hope this isn't badly illuminated. I mean, I'm experimenting with different kinds of lighting here. I wanted to shout out to April Collier for her video on spark plugs, and just science communication was the theme. Like, we don't need to know about spark plugs anymore, maybe, unless we're going to be car mechanics, which maybe we want to be to some level, right? Like, or lawnmower mechanics. And, I'm not a big car guy myself, but I'm planning to do a long drive soon. So the fact that my 1997 Nissan is still reliable is an amazing thing at 200 plus thousand. What is it, 250,000 or so? Still going strong. So on this channel, we talk about geometry a lot, and I have a pretty cool tetrahedron here that I want to show. This is it. Now, let me see. Yeah, there. I have to see that I've got it in the frame here. Now, what is the frequency of this tetrahedron? There are so many ways to. I mean, we could say it's millions of frequency because it depends on the physical material that we want to tune in. Symbolically, these could be spheres. If we made them bigger, they could touch. As it is, they're kind of suspended in an almost tensegrity kind of way. We call this flextegrity. It's got a flexibility to it. It's not a bad name. This is the one of the versions of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We call that 4 frequency. So then, if you're in some elementary school project where you get to figure out, therefore, how many total spheres are there, because it's a tetrahedral number sequence, right? You would do that, and that's what the Substack article is talking about. Basically, this is a curriculum design studio, but then for more advanced students, like, how do you get in the mood to understand fourth dimension in a different way than you're used to? And my trick, you could call it a trick, is first to point out that even in the standard existing mainstream discourse of the 1900s, there are two very strong different meanings of 4D that people want to push together sometimes. But what you get when you put them together is science fiction, not really science math. So you're into path, you're into the humanities when you go into these time travel novels that use the fourth dimension or interdimensional beings and talk about ETs and stuff. You can get before Congress with that kind of science fiction because it sounds the way our culture has sanctioned, meaning approved of. Sanction's a dumb word because it means both approve and disapprove in a way, but the accepted way to be a mystic in sort of the Anglosphere is to do it with a lot of dimension talk. And there are people who are like amateurs, you would say, who aren't really schooled, and yet they're like folk heroes because they can see in higher dimensions. And we tend to bring these people in and sort of like take notes, like, oh my, you can actually see this stuff, because as ordinary people in academia, we have trouble visualizing higher dimensions. That becomes a challenge. And then so there's all these videos, and that's what I call 4D in the sense of extended Euclidean, which we also talk about in machine learning. Like, it's a separate dimension if your car has an air conditioner or not versus whether it has satellite radio or not. Those don't depend on each other. And anytime you have independent features, we create a new column in the spreadsheet and we call that a dimension. So quickly we get hundreds of dimensions just for a car. And so it's multidimensional, and we use the matrix mathematics that goes with that. So that inherits from extending XYZ with more and more dimensions, right? But sticking to what we call Euclidean distance and dot product, orthogonality, linear algebra, that's the Hilbert space we talk about. But the Einstein stuff with time as the fourth dimension, XYZ plus time, that's not the same mathematics, right? And then here in School of Tomorrow, we talk a lot about yet another meaning of 4D that you'll have tuned in if you've watched this channel at all. And I often suggest reading, okay, so this one doesn't really have a cover. I think it might have does it have is it signed by the author? I did meet the author. Henry Leroy Finch. He wrote this in 1977, so this is a book about Wittgenstein's philosophy, which I was studying then. Wittgenstein, the later philosophy. And one reason I like this one is it does do more to bridge to the Buddhist kind of talking about self and selfhood and things of that nature. It's more psychological than a lot of the books about Wittgenstein. And in that vein, psychological, I recommend this book. If you've met with me about learning synergetics, you probably heard me talk about Love's Body as a book I thought was helpful when I did get to synergetics. I read this coming more from Ernest Becker's Denial of Death, and before that, Freud and stuff. I didn't read this knowing that I'd be going into synergetics later, but once I did, it's like, good thing. In terms of manga, I keep saying manga. I think I might have shown this. I got this out of the Gresham Library, and this is a good book. It's about if you're a young person and you think you might want to break into manga, this is a book kind of for you, and it's got a good angle. It's like how to keep it fun and safe. Have parental units come with you to the conference, maybe if you're pretty young. Manga, it means a lot, right? It's a huge literature. And then another book I got, China Through the Ages. Obviously, I went to the kids section of the library. I happened to be there because I wanted to get these. I'm trying to break into the mindsets necessary to further the didactic manga. In other words, inside of manga, there's what we could call manga designed to teach stuff. And it can be very geeky topics like database theory or the math I'm talking about. That could be done through manga. And that's an art form. It originates in Japan. And Portland being on the Pacific Rim, we have a lot of interaction or commonality. Our culture is partly Japanese culture. This is a part of Japanese culture here, as well as other cultures. Mexican, Russian. Russian is the fourth most spoken language, and it was third until after the Vietnam War. When I came to Portland, I was here as a little kid. When I came back after the war in Indochina, the American war in Indochina, there were a lot of refugees coming back to be resettled in North America because, right, those manifest destiny types took it into their heads, as they take into their heads all the time, these goofy ideas which don't represent me. That's why I'm done voting for those people in DC, by the way, because I feel Pacific Rim, Cascadia, like that, a certain loyalty to that, and really to people. I'm not a misanthropist as much as I used to be. When I was a kid, I just didn't like people, didn't like the way they looked. I was into four-legged creatures. You know how a lot of kids are. They really like bears and dogs and foxes, and humans are too close to monkeys. And monkeys are obnoxious. I don't know. It's just a bias. But I think I'm over that now. But whether you're a Chinese or a Japanese or a Korean or a German or what your nationality is, to me, that's programming. That's your operating system. We're talking about, what OS do you run, right? It's not a feature of nature. It's a feature of, well, it's nature in the sense of what's between your ears, nature. But software programming, I'm a programmer. TV, same thing, programming. That's, highly mutable, flexible compared to like geological facts of the ground, not on the ground, but the facts of the ground, they don't change as fast as like the mutability of psychic material, by which I don't mean anything too woo-woo. I just mean brain, software, whatever you want to call it, thinking. The zeitgeist moves on, so I don't feel like it's a big deal that I'm kind of over any kind of like wanting to be in lockstep with manifest destiny idiots. I can't like align myself with that. But that doesn't make me un-American, because as I've traced on this channel, I'm part of a long lineage of people who think this, right? Mark Twain, that whole idea of invading the Philippines and taking over for the Spanish American Empire, making it the American Empire, taking over the Spanish Empire and making it, that's kind of a Hearst thing. That was, the newspapers like this kind of stuff. The manifest, the wars, conquest, we're number one. It's low culture, lowbrow, very lowbrow. And okay, in that sense, I'm unabashedly a bit of an elitist. I don't go for that, right? I'm going to say it, beneath me. Sorry. So maybe you don't like this channel, but whatever. Last thing I'll show. Okay. This bio, I found this in one of the many free libraries around Portland. I have it on my desk. I haven't read it yet. I might take it with me on my next trip, along with the bio I just picked up in a similar circumstance of Catherine the Great. But the C60 connection here, this tetrahedron I was showing earlier, that's invented by the grandson of this guy that we're writing about in this book, right? F. Scott. His grandson, Sam, son of Scotty, and, she was the daughter of F. Scott and Zelda. He invented flextegrity, right? And there's connections there too. Bucky Fuller, Kenneth Nelson, all kinds of characters that I talk about. And then my other toys that I've talked about recently on this channel. I don't have the Quado up here. And in terms of flag waving, I do have 2 flags I want to wave. 3 actually. Let's wave the South Africa flag and the Lesotho flag together. These countries are neighbors, and I've been to them, hung out in both, enjoy them a lot. And Bhutan, Royal Kingdom of Bhutan, Drukgyal. I'm patriotic about that place as well. Like, what I'm saying is I'm patriotic about a lot of countries. I have a ton of U.S. flags around. It's not up here right now, but yeah, I've got that. Because I did pledge allegiance to the flag, so I have been pretty loyal, I think. And that means I know my history. I know about the East India Company. If you say you pledge allegiance to the flag and you don't know about its history or anything about the East India Company, I'm more allegiant than you are, maybe. Let's just see. Anyway, talk to you later.